stream you're seeing David Charles.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, quack, quack.
We are live. Welcome to another Thursday Carnivore Mastermind. We got a great panel tonight. We're excited to chat with you all. So welcome everybody to the stream. Of course, if you're watching in the future and this is the replay, welcome to you as well. I know it's only September 5th today, but I totally got fall vibes this week. I was totally one of those people that was upset when I went into the grocery store in the middle of August and they had the entire floral department switched over to fall. All the Halloween candy was out front and center. Like I couldn't find a pool floaty to save my life. It was all gone. And there was like pumpkin spice candles and pumpkin spice lattes being advertised and all this kind of stuff already. So I was upset about that. But we had here in Texas a couple days in the beginning of September here that were rainy and cloudy and like 75, 80 degrees. Like one day was like 85 and then it was 74 overnight. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's fall, you guys. It's September 2nd. So I thought we'd talk about the season change just to kind of get a head start on it. Because obviously, you know, we don't all live in the same parts of the world. So the season might be different for everybody, but the season is changing. Right. And sometimes as we change seasons, that can trigger some things, you know, that can be difficult or challenging for us in sticking to our healthy lifestyles, our healthy way of eating. And maybe it brings some things to look forward to or some things to be excited about. So we're going to kind of chat about all that tonight. Kind of a fun topic. So I did ask you all in the poll this week. Let's bring that to stage what you guys thought. So moving into the season of fall, what are the biggest challenges that you see for sticking to your way of eating and healthy lifestyle? So first choice was Halloween candy. It's already everywhere. Anticipating or attending holiday parties, finding ways to mimic the comfort foods of the season, having less daylight, affecting mood and motivation, or others. Leave a comment. And winner, 51% of the votes went to less daylight, affecting mood and motivation, which I was kind of surprised. But that's kind of a pleasant surprise because that means all these other ones are less of an issue for most people. So 21% voted for finding ways to mimic the comfort foods of the season. I feel like out of anything, that might be the thing that I previously struggled with the most. We'll see how this year goes, but and then 11% voted for anticipating or attending holiday parties, 9% for Halloween candy because it's everywhere, and then 7% of you said, let me leave you a comment. So Proud to Be Weird chimed in one day ago and says, I love the fall season, the cold, the colors, the gatherings, and I actually like the early darkness. I know I kind of agree with that. I love sort of the coziness of getting snuggled in early. The food doesn't even cross my mind. I'm about enjoying the moment. That's awesome. Laura, Healthy Carnivore, says it gets easier with time after 5 years. None of the old carb-laden goodies have any hold on me. Christy is here with us tonight. She says the longer I'm carnivore, the easier it is to stick with it, so I don't foresee any challenges. And we had, let's see, okay, Vince Edwards, no challenges. In fact, once it cools off, I'm more likely to walk and get more exercise. So this is actually a win. So we had several comments here talking about potential challenges that you see, but also some pros to the season change. So we'll kind of just go around the circle here. Did we lose? Lost BC. I'm sure he'll pop back in. We'll just go around the circle and just give your thoughts about fall coming in. What are you planning? How do you deal with challenges and any advice that you can share? So we'll start with Robin.
Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here tonight with this great group of carnivore masterminds. My name is Robin Heron, and I am your carnivorous grandma. And I thought this was a really great question. I had to kind of think about it. So, you know, the fall season, of course, brings with it all the holidays. And I think the main challenge, I guess, if any, there's a couple. So one is that my family wants me to cook They want me to cook for all of the holidays. And so, my making it through my first year of carnivore last year, I went through all of the holidays as a carnivore, which was absolutely amazing. I just made all the meats. But there are dishes that they like for me to make. And they're like, Mom, you can't make the food without tasting it. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to make those dishes for you guys anymore because I'm not tasting it. I'm not tasting the dressing and the baked beans and all of the things. I'm not planning on doing any tasting of any of that stuff. So that's one challenge is they're like, Mom is ruining the holidays. So, so that's a challenge. And then the other thing I think is like daylight savings time. I hate daylight savings time. And that spring forward, fall back thing. Um, and so, it's dark early in the morning. I've been out walking for the summer, and of course, the sun is rising later and later every morning. So it's a little bit tough to, you keep pushing it back. And now pretty soon it's going to be like 8 o'clock in the morning and it's time to go to work. So that makes it a little bit challenging as far as getting out and doing that morning sunlight walk. Same thing with evening. Like evening is the sunset's going to be coming faster and faster. So it's just, I was one of the ones that clicked that the lack of daylight thing. So I do think that I do have a little bit of that sad seasonal affective disorder where I get a little bit down when it's dark all the time. So that is a challenge for me. What am I looking forward to? Sweater weather. I'm looking forward to sweater. I got my jacket on today. This week it's been a little bit nippy in the mornings. It's been cool and crisp. I didn't have to deal with any mosquitoes or any bugs flying around my head while I'm trying to get out and get my morning walk. And so that's been really nice. So I like the cool morning. I like it to be brisk and cool in the morning so I can get out and do my walk. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to like soup season because I love to make soups. And even in the summertime, I make soups a lot of times, but I'm really looking forward to that. And, my slow cooker and those kinds of things. You know, I was thinking about this because I added a little bit of cardamom to my coffee the other morning. Now, I know a lot of carnivores don't use spices, but I still do use some. And that gave me that fallish type of a feeling. So if you're a person that can use spices, you can spice things up to make them taste like fall. So I like pumpkin spice. I know a lot of people hate pumpkin spice, but I do enjoy a good pumpkin spice latte. I'm not doing any lattes because of the milk and the cream and stuff I can't tolerate, but I can tolerate the spice. So I would add a little pumpkin spice to my coffee with my butter and froth it up and make it taste like a pumpkin spice latte. It's be super good. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to. I'm definitely not concerned about any of the candy. I'm not concerned about the carbs and stuff like that. I have no desire to eat any carbs. And my most recent experience with like a plant gave me such a bad anxiety attack that I have no desire to eat any plant like that. Fresh. I had some fresh mint while I was on a cruise, and I'm like, okay, so I can't tolerate those fresh plants. So, I have no desire to eat any kind of plants or any kind of carbs.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, Robin does some great walk and talks, you guys. If you're sleeping on those, get over to her channel right now and go watch, because she does do that sunrise walk. And I've been noticing it's darker and darker and it gets later and later as she's doing those. So I'm a teacher, and I'm Christy at Meeting Wellness, by the way, and I'm a teacher. So fall has I have a little bit of a different perspective, I think, on fall, because for me, fall is when we go back to school, even though it's still technically summer. In fact, today at my house, the high was 111 degrees, and it's now cooled off to a balmy 110. So it does not feel like fall is anywhere on the horizon here as far as the weather goes. I do agree with that person in the poll talking about I'm going to be able to get out and walk more because it is too dark in the mornings. I was walking almost every summer morning, like during summer break. I was getting out at sunrise. I loved it. I did a lot of videos, from there. It made me feel happy, ready for the day. My circadian rhythms were on point, and then school started up. And so it's dark. It's dark when I'm getting ready for work. It's pretty soon it'll be dark when I'm leaving the house. So that's the part of it that's a little bit of a bummer for me. It's just like physically impossible, to get that sunrise walk. As far as the food, I don't feel like I have too many challenges with that. Although I don't like pumpkin spice. I never have. I don't really connect all that food and stuff to the season or to the holiday, or I've just kind of never done that. But I will say, so last year was my first year being carnivore, going through all those holidays, and I know kind of how it went. And now I'm good at it. I know exactly how I'm going to handle it. And it absolutely doesn't hurt that 3 out of the 4 of the members of my household are now eating a proper human diet. So I'm eating carnivore. My son is now basically pretty much carnivore. My husband is, I would say, meat-based keto at this point. So that's going to completely make it, I think, easier as far as family gatherings go. But like last year, I just found out what are they serving, and then I'll bring the picanha. So I just brought meat, and I think I brought, at least to one gathering, I brought like a charcuterie type of tray, with like cheese and meat and stuff on it. And then that way there's an appetizer and a main course that I can enjoy, and anyone else who wants to have that with me can do the same. And so I'm planning on just doing that again. My family's really understanding about, like, my mom is keto too, and if they want other stuff, they just bring it. So I feel bad, Robin. That made me sad when you said, your family's like, mom's ruining things. Because my family's like, all right, if I want mac and cheese, I know I just got to bring that, like my brother or whoever, right? They just bring it. And because they know my mom's not going to make it, because she's, like I said, she's keto, and they sure know I'm not bringing it. So they just bring their own sides, like whatever they want, and then everybody just takes what they want. So my family has made it, very easy. I would say it's really not that difficult. Last year I was a little bit worried. So teachers at holiday times will often get gifts, and those gifts usually are a bunch of chocolate. Boxes and boxes and boxes will just appear on my desk. And I'm like, honestly, I feel like I'm not going to eat it. And I also feel too guilty giving it away, because I don't want to put that on somebody else to eat that and put it in their body. So yeah, that's like a bummer. But I don't feel tempted by it. And that's the nice thing. Going carnivore has definitely gotten rid of all of those cravings and temptations and things. So I am happy when fall actually gets here for the cooler weather, because it will come. And then I'm hoping, like right now, I can't go for a walk. I mean, I could, I guess, but I'm not going to go for a walk in 110-degree weather. I'm just not going to do it. It will cool off though, and I can do some evening walks and, at least be able to do that. So how about you, Papa Carnivore?
Wow. So that was all good stuff. When I was thinking about this season, Thanksgiving, the first word that came to my mind was the word thanks. And I have so much to be thankful for. This is going to be my second year holiday, because I started February 1st of last year. So I'm just very, very thankful for finding this way of eating, this lifestyle, all of you guys. I mean, I was joking around. I was in Carrie's homestead members only live stream at this afternoon. And by the way, Nia, he was really talking you up, and your interview with Carrie and everything was amazing, by the way. If you guys haven't seen it, it's amazing. But this way of eating has just been amazing. The thanks is incredible. And I remember last Thanksgiving, I went to my brother's and sister-in-law's house in Sarasota on the west coast of Florida. I'm on the, like Rick, we're both in South Florida here in the East Coast. And I remember how sweet she was, because she knew, she asked me, what did I eat? She knew I was on, at that time, kind of ketovore. So, she had a charcuterie board, and she had chicken wings, and, she had some salad, whatever, at least she really tried. And so it made it a lot easier for me. But that being said, I think I did have a piece of pumpkin pie or something at the end. I think I broke. But I think this year, I don't think I'm going to break. I think I am strong enough this year that's not going to happen, you know? And I remember how bad I felt the next day, you know? And I'm sure you guys know that feel. Well, you know, Robin, if you're having a piece of mint and it's giving you anxiety, you know, imagine a big giant piece of pumpkin pie. I mean, what that would do to you. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think the word is thanks. And that's what and I'm looking forward to you know, here it's so hot in Florida and I walk 5-6 miles every morning, you know, so I'm a big walker. So I'm kind of looking forward to the weather breaking a little bit. You know, it does stay fairly warm here in Florida, but that'd be a nice change, not being, you know, coming home covered in sweat, you know, and just being able to enjoy my walks a little more. So over to you, Rick.
Yep. I'll tell you, living in Miami, I've lived here so long. I remember when we actually had seasons. Around October, we'd get our first cold front, and then it was like up and down. But now it's the same old garbage weather 90 something during the day, 80 something at night, humidity at least 70%. All you got to do is walk from your house to your car and you're sweating. And then if you're like me and you have to work outside, it's just a challenge that never ends. It's just constantly sweating, getting dirty. It's just, hate it. So, yeah, we don't really have a fall. We have like 2 weeks of good weather. We have 9 months of absolutely horrible weather. And then in between, we have some good days. We may have a day where the high is 80 and the low is 70. That's actually very good for us. If we get down into the 50s, that's rare. Of course, we used to get into the 30s. It actually snowed when I was a kid back in 1977. I was getting ready for school. It was snowing, but that hasn't happened in a long time. So while you're up there with Christmas trees and snow and all the other stuff, we have coconut trees, iguanas, bananas. It's a whole different way of living. But, when I go to the store, I see the pumpkin pie and the what else do they have? The baked goods and they have sweet potato pie and all this other stuff. And I look at it and the smell of it kind of makes me feel sick. So I walk even faster to the back of the store. Then when I hit the meat section, I see all the delicious cuts of beef and even the pork. They have good sales of pork and of course turkey. They actually give away turkeys in a few places. And because I'm poor, sometimes I'll line up for the free turkey. Of course, I'm not going to roast that turkey. I'm going to cook it Rick's heart attack style. So I'll take the turkey, I'll cut it up in pieces, and I'll cook it in pure tallow or lard, and it's actually very good. But, I do kind of look forward to the very rare cold weather because then I can make my world famous pacemaker pizza, which would be like the ultimate carnivore pizza. And normally I hate pizza. Pizza is one of those things. I don't like the smell of it. It's greasy. It smells a little bit like vomit to me. I don't know why. It's just nasty. But Rick's pacemaker pizza is so good. Let me tell you, it's what it is. The crust is made out of eggs, cheese, and white meat chicken. And I hate white meat chicken. It's the driest, most unflavorful part of the chicken. But when you blend it up in a blender with the eggs and cheese, and then you deep fry it in pure lard, it smells really good. And then after you've fried it, then you go ahead and you put your ground meat, your cheese, your seafood. I'll put shrimp, all kinds of stuff in it. So you end up with something that's like that thick. It looks like a meatloaf seafood combination sitting on top of a deep fried crust. Then you heat it up in the oven. And then that way, because when it's cold, I can run the oven. Otherwise, it just heats up the house too much. And once it starts to bake, oh, it smells so good. It smells almost like a chili and oh, it's so good. So I think about that. So while other people are cooking their pie or whatever else they're going to cook, I love to have my pizza. And then, of course, having fires outside. I go with friends. We have get-togethers. We have it in the summer as well. We just had one a couple of weeks ago. But it's so hot and sweating all the time. I feel like I'm on the job. But when it's cool, it's really nice because you can start up a good fire and I'll gather up as much scrap wood as I can, get that thing going. And then when it burns down to charcoal, you put the meat on there and cook up the meat, and it's really tasty. I mean, there's just so many things. And then if we get really cold weather, comes the best part of the fall. That's when the iguanas start falling. Now, that to me is the actual fall. So if you do get that rare cold front, those iguanas will drop out of the tree, and then you can go around and pick them up and bring them home and cage them up. And then whenever you want to cook up a delicious iguana, they're right there waiting for you. You know, most of the time they're pretty much, they get frozen, they're pretty much dead, they're ready to cook. But sometimes they'll come alive, and you'll have to, you know, finish them off. But then you can get your pot boiling or get the fryer going, and boy, I'll tell you, you haven't had anything till you had heart attack iguana. I mean, even boiled iguana is something like lobster. If you don't like the taste of iguana, just put lots of butter on it. But I look forward to this time of the year, and I really hope we get some kind of winter, because I am sick and tired of 92 degrees in January. It gets old. I mean, come on. I pick up Christmas trees to mulch them. I'm out there sweating like if it was July. That that's not a holiday season. That's just misery. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But anyway, let's see what David has to say about it.
I just had to stop laughing first. Yeah, that's great, Rick. Like here, like Queensland in Australia is much the same as Florida when it comes to weather. So seasonal, we don't really have a season. It's just like it gets, it's just less hot in the winter. That's all. And like cold, like maybe early mornings, late night, it gets a bit cold, but through the day it's nice and warm. It's mostly shorts and t-shirt weather, year round. So I don't mind that so much. But I do miss the winter in Japan. Christmas in Australia is summer, so it's really hot. It's like that. Christmas time is like the hottest time of the year. So it's usually the hottest day, Christmas Day. Like I think it's like I remember one Christmas actually was 50 degrees Celsius. So it's like 120 Fahrenheit there around, 120 something. So pretty hot. But winter in Japan, Christmas was fantastic. Snow, and they love to decorate and things like that as well. But holidays, I don't find it too difficult actually anymore. I do, of course, Christmas is a really good, but here in Australia, as I said, it's summer. So one of the biggest like Christmas meals, for example, is a barbecue for breakfast. So 6 o'clock in the morning, we'll get up and have a barbecue, and that's Christmas here. So it's really good. But we don't celebrate Halloween in Australia. So it's more of it's a shopping sort of holiday here more than anything. So it's you have all the decorations and candy and stuff like that, but we don't really do that trick or treat stuff. It's kind of a little bit easier to avoid than America. I've always been interested. I think it's a lot of fun. Japan likes to have a Halloween as well, because it's just another way to do cosplay, I guess. Dress up and have fun. But I'm just going to get on a bit of a soapbox here because, sorry, Robin mentioned the pumpkin spice lattes. Stay the hell away from Starbucks. Right? Stay the goddamn hell away from Starbucks and coffee houses and things like that. I did a video on this last year because, these coffee houses, they use a large, not just a large amount of sugar, but they use a large amount of seed oils.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and especially in lattes, and almost 99% of everything you see on the menu in Starbucks is full of seed oils. And one in particular is called carrageenan. It is literally used in laboratories to start and progress the growth of tumors. Okay, to study treatments on. Okay, they literally use this stuff to grow tumors so that they can then try and trial the effects of chemotherapies and things like that and trying to kill them. Right, that's what they literally use that for. And it almost everything on the Starbucks menu has this stuff in it. So when you see like these carnivores and all these other, I see there's quite a number of people talking about, oh, what drink they get when they go to Starbucks. I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? You know, you're promoting this company that basically is poisoning you. And some people I've seen that are supposedly fighting chronic diseases like mine, and they've this is the drink I go to Starbucks with. It's crazy. It's just absolutely insane to me. Okay, so I'll get that off my soapbox now, but stay away from those places because they are poisoning you. It is absolutely toxic, rancid stuff. Yeah, but apart from that, I think when you're talking about holidays and trying to avoid these sweet cravings and things like that, remember that it is a toxin. It is toxic, and it is poisoning your body. You're literally paying for it.
Are you done?
Yeah, sorry, I'm done.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Sorry. Was it muted or okay? Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you guys covered a lot of great points, and those were almost all of my points. So I'll just throw my 2 cents in here, and then we had some questions come through. So if you asked a question, we'll get to those here in just a second. So yeah, I think kind of like you, Papa Carnivore, last year, I started in July, late July, early August, sometime. Yeah, I think July 16th was my day last year. And so it was kind of like I knew going in, like this is going to be tough, right? Because it's Thanksgiving and my birthday's in December and then Christmas and then New Year's. And like I knew all this kind of gauntlet of temptation was going to be coming up. And so I was actually pretty proud of myself for how I did last year, even though I wasn't 100% perfect. But I agree with all of you. I feel like a much more solid sense of resolve this year. Like I don't need any of this stuff. Like I don't want it in my system for many of the reasons that you all pointed out. And there's lots of things to look forward to that make me excited about fall. And like there's around here, there's a lot of fun activities, and I have a 4-year-old. And so I'm trying to like get to all the pumpkin patches, all the corn maze things, all the farm activities. I just, right before we came on, I got a email from a museum that we're members at, and they're having a little thing early in October where you can bring your kids and do science experiments and wear your costumes. And so I just got us tickets to that. So it's like, there's all kinds of fun things to do that don't necessarily have to revolve around food. And so I think focusing on those types of things that bring you joy, that get you out of the house, dress up if you like, make your own snacks and bring them to the wherever, that's what I plan to do. Just make a bunch of purse bacon and jerky and go to these events full so that I don't, give in to temptation because I'm hungry or something silly like that. So the other thing I love about this time of year coming up on holidays is that sales. And I think somebody touched on this, Rick, maybe you did. Because they'll have the ribeye roasts on sale, or they'll have briskets, or prime rib, or so you can kind of like fill your freezer and go the day after and buy up all the ones that nobody else did. And so I look forward to stuff like that. And this year I'm going up to visit my family in Wisconsin in October, so I'm going to actually get to experience some legit fall season with cool weather and trees. And shameless plug, if you didn't know yet, Carrie from Homestead How and I and JT and Anna from Poco Moonshine Family kind of organized a little meetup in October. And now Dr. Kiltz is going to be the main speaker at that event. So I think there's a few tickets left if anybody wants to sign up. It's on Carrie's Eventbrite thing, and there's a link somewhere in my community post as well. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for cooking more outside. We're going to try to do a DFW meetup again outdoors and do some grilling after it cools down a little bit. So, and crock pot season. I love my crock pot. It's my absolute favorite like indoor cooking appliance. So I'm excited to do some more recipes. I was telling actually Ellie, I think she's in the chat here somewhere still, how I just, I've been kind of feeling like, I don't I'm so boring. I don't really come up with any fun recipes lately. I don't have any recipes to share with anybody. I'm just like, I eat ground beef and, shrimp and whatever, But I've been thinking about different crock pot soups and how I can get creative with cooking some things I haven't made before. So all that's exciting to me. So awesome. We've got some questions here. So Oscar, hopefully you're still here. Has a question for us. I've done animal-based and noticed some changes to social anxiety, but does going full carnivore make a big difference? Anybody have thoughts on this?
I have thoughts. So Oscar, I hope you're still here too, because let me tell you, when I started my proper human diet back in February of 2023, I was meat-based keto. So I was mostly meat with like a few veggies and nuts. That was my diet. And I did lose weight eating that way. Oh, good. Oscar's here. Yay. Okay. So yeah, I did lose weight doing that. And that was great because that's what I went in for, right? But that was the only benefit I got. And then I just was too lazy to cook the broccoli. I just didn't want to cook the asparagus. And I just ate more ribeye. And then I started looking into it and was like, oh yeah, like I didn't invent this. It's okay to do. Carnivore is a thing. And look, there's all these, other people online doing this too. And the very first thing I noticed was that social anxiety that I didn't even know I had. Like I chalked it up to Christy's just an introvert, kind of thing. It went away. So like the first thing was my son got invited to an amusement park and I was able to, instead of telling him, no, he can't go, because it was with some people I didn't know and I didn't feel comfortable just sending him. I was like, you can go if I go. I'm like, wait, what did I just say out loud? And off I went to the amusement park perfectly fine. Like before a carnivore, that would have sounded like hell on earth. And for sure, I would have ruined my son's day by telling him he couldn't go. I used to not want to walk into the grocery store for fear of people would be looking at me. What are they thinking about me? Am I walking funny? Do I look funny? Does my hair look funny? Do I have a zit on my face? Do I look fat? Like all of these things. I was so just consumed with thoughts about what other people were thinking. I wouldn't go for a walk outside. I think you heard me say earlier, if you were here, in the summer, I went for a walk almost every morning. So I don't have a problem with any social anxiety. And it wasn't even something that I was trying to get rid of. But going carnivore for sure got rid of it. So
I had a reverse of that, if you can believe it. I had ADHD and really, really bad. And so I would talk over people. I was terrible listener. And with carnivore, it slowed my mind down. And now I'm as you can tell, a pretty good listener. I enjoy listening, and it slowed everything down. And my social anxiety was, stepping all over people's words and just being too much. And now I feel more comfortable because I can actually step back a little bit.
That's pretty good, because I've always been the calming force. Most of the people I know, when they have a problem and they're really frustrated, I'm the one they always talk to, because I'm the one that doesn't get upset real easy. They always say when Rick gets upset, watch out. Things are really going to go out of control. So, I don't know. When I was a kid, I always would get mad and I got picked on a lot. But as I got older and I got taller and people left me, it's like today, I don't care. I'm a big old quack. I go around, I drive old cars. I live in a house that looks like the Addams Family. I don't care what people think about me. I'm riding around on my bicycle and who cares? The thing is, I don't understand why anybody would really care, because most of the people, they have their own problems. I don't even think they really notice us unless they know you. If somebody knows you, they're going to notice you. But when was the last time you thought about somebody else you saw, like the average person? You probably can remember. I couldn't remember the last person I saw when I went to the grocery store. So why be socially anxious? But hey, once I went carnivore, I was a kid that used to get up in front of the class whenever they wanted somebody to do a demonstration, or I would always volunteer for stuff. So I don't know if it's a diet or if it's just not being so stressed out all the time. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's not something I have to deal with, really.
I think it's a lot to do with the diet, though, too. Rick's been on this since he was 15, but we've been on junk food. Sugar does so much to the brain. It just wrecks you. It really does. And coming from, like, I spent so many years stuck in bed, you also develop a lot of anxiety just leaving the front door, after being inside for so long, not being around other people. I think that has been a very big change for me as well. Like when I first started going out for walks with my wife, when I managed to start walking again, I wouldn't go without her. Like I couldn't go anywhere without her. I was very anxious about just leaving the bed, really, just getting out and moving again. So that was, a part of the recovery was the anxiety of actually getting up and moving again. And I had the same problem when I first joined the gym again. Like joining the gym was really stressful for me as well. Like I had a lot of anxiety just walking from home to the gym again. And, these were, it was part of obviously part of the problem with the anxiety was the trauma, I guess, and the time I've spent so much time being stuck inside. But a lot of it was also the diet. It got easier and easier as I ate more fat, and I lost a lot of that anxiety. You sort of build confidence along the way as well. Like you take small steps, and you always get bigger and braver and that sort of thing. But I think diet really does help because you also get rid of that mental fog. That mental fog sort of keeps you anxious as well. So I think it's like, even I notice a difference even going from like 90% like high fat keto diet to just completely carnivore diet. That extra 10% or so is a huge difference. It's like night and day difference, really. It really is. So I know it sounds difficult for some people to go like be 100%, be strict, but that extra 10% makes a really big difference.
I just want to agree with that. I think I watched Dr. Georgia Ede on Carrie's channel when he interviewed her. And that's exactly what she said, is that last 10% is going to make, like, I think she said 80% of the difference.
Yeah.
It was like a huge amount of change that comes from eliminating that last 10% of plant-based material.
Well, I mean, even when, like I've been strict, like 100% carnivore for almost 2 years, but I've been in remission now. Like next month will be 10 years remission out of the hospital. That 8 years though, like on a high fat ketogenic diet, I still would never have thought about even doing a YouTube channel and talking about this stuff.
Yep.
So that extra 10% is a very, very big difference. It really is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was thinking about, like, because I have had this anxiety after like COVID. I got sent home from work. I was in my house for 2 years, and I found that I've always had a social anxiety. I always thought I was shy. I'm just shy. Like, I don't like talking to people that I don't know, that kind of thing. But after I went carnivore, I went to the Chicago meetup, and I was like a social butterfly. I was like, who is this person? I don't even know this person myself, because I didn't have that social anxiety or that sort of what I called shy, even though I know I'm not shy. But I would call that shy because I just didn't feel comfortable talking to people that I don't know. So, it definitely has made a huge difference for me. So definitely.
I've always been the same, actually. I've always been, I've never liked talking or meeting new people. So I don't have a whole lot of friends, but now, like, talk to you guys all the time, or I meet people online and talk to them. That before I just would never have done, and it makes a very big difference. It's incredible. Actually, Georgia Ede, her book is absolutely brilliant. I've been reading that recently too, and
Yes.
I like listening to the way she explains things too. She's great.
Her book is called Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind.
That's right.
I'm going to order that sucker right now because I keep meaning to do it, and I'm like, maybe I'll get the Audible. Maybe I'll do it. No, you know what? I'm gonna get on Amazon right now.
It's a fantastic book.
I know. This is like the third time today that I've heard someone be like, "Go buy it." I'm like, "Okay, that's my sign." Like I know I'm gonna love it, and I kind of, I have a conception. I've listened to her interviews, so like I kind of know, get the idea. But
really good book.
It's like I think it's definitely one that should probably be read no matter what. So, I'll just I'll agree with
that book.
Yeah, I'm literally going to go order it right now. Anybody got a link they want to drop me? An affiliate link quick?
Another good book is Fiber Menace. That's a fantastic book. I just did a book review on this yesterday because, I think it's an absolute must read for anyone who wants to or is health conscious, I should say. I think it's an absolute must read.
Another great book
around, Konstantin Monastyrsky?
Yeah, he actually has a channel on YouTube.
Does he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Another great book is Chris Palmer's Brain Energy, which also talks a lot about what Georgia Ede's book talks about. They both work at Harvard University, or what she used to. I don't know if Chris Palmer's still there, but he's a psychiatrist. His book is incredible. In fact, I gave both those books to my brother, who's a psychiatrist, and he loved it, Yeah,
Chris Palmer's another good one.
Yeah, I've read that one, and this one I need to get on my shelf. I just wanted to throw in thanks, Christy. Might as well give somebody the credit. I'll just say that, I suffered from social anxiety. I didn't really even realize it. Again, one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm just an introvert. This is just part of my personality. And I think, like, listening to all of us, like, we probably do have a different degree of personality, as like how much social interaction you like or desire or need in your life. But that doesn't mean that, I guess what I'm saying, like, there's a personality component to it, but then there's like this anxiety component where probably everybody could have it, regardless of maybe you're an introvert or an extrovert or whatever. You could be kind of struck with this social anxiety, and I definitely experienced it. It was one of the reasons why I drank heavily for so many years, is because I couldn't control my anxiety around people, and that was the only thing that lowered the anxiety. And so I definitely, coped with that. And carnivores made it so much better. But I will tell you, I finally stopped I stopped caffeine in January of this year, and I quit decaf because I kept bringing that decaf coffee in, and I think there was just enough caffeine combined with whatever else is in coffee that was it was messing with me somewhat in my brain. And I've been off of it now. Gosh, it's got to be close to, it was 2 weeks before I did my GI sample test, and that took about 3 weeks to get in, probably a week ago. So yeah, 6 weeks at least, maybe a little bit longer. And talk about the last 10%, I think that actually has made a huge difference. And we'll see as time goes on, but it's made a difference in my digestion. It's made a difference. And our digestion and our brains are so intimately linked, you know what I mean? And so, like, if you struggle with gut health, it's like if you got leaky gut, you got leaky brain, and all this stuff is affecting probably your mood and your anxiety.
People don't understand, like coffee often it actually does work the same as fiber does too sometimes. It is a diuretic. Okay, so it stops you absorbing things like electrolytes, like water soluble vitamins, for example. So it stops you absorbing all these water soluble vitamins because it just goes through you that much faster. Plus, it also causes GERD, like reflux disease. Okay, and it's not just coffee, but all processed plants, especially processed with heat, which all of them are, also form acrylamide. And acrylamide is something that also affects your hormone production, especially like thyroid function and things like that, like directly. So it's whether you get, and it doesn't matter if you get your own like coffee beans, grind them up yourself, and get all these great expensive coffees and so on and so on and so forth. It does the same thing. There you go.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there again, if coffee doesn't bother you, go for it. I'm not shaming anybody for drinking it, but I think for me and for, you know, still troubleshooting after 1 year, trying to, you know, get to the next level, I think it was the right choice for myself. Dylan, hope you're here. This was from about 6:15. Any tips on transitional nausea? Anybody want to jump on that?
Anyone?
I'm
So
assuming
I'm
this is
guessing
transitioning from a standard American diet to a carnivore diet. I'm not sure. I've never heard this term transitional nausea before. I
or
can
a
say
low
that,
fat diet to a
oh,
high fat
low
diet.
fat
I'm
to high fat.
guessing.
So I can say I didn't have nausea, but when I transitioned from keto, basically, to carnivore, I did have diarrhea. So it was a similar, to me, that would be probably a similar thing. And I had it for 30 days. On the 31st day, I had the first normal bowel movement of my adult life that I can remember. So my advice or my tip on it would be try to stay the course as much as you can. Maybe if you're eating too much fat, maybe reduce the fat a little bit. Until your gut microbiome has a chance to convert over, because your body is like, what the heck are you doing? Stop
Yeah, I
it.
agree. For some people, I think they need to maybe not go cold turkey straight into carnivore. For some people, particularly people who've been going heavy vegan or vegetarian their whole life with tons and tons of plants, it can be tough. I mean, I came more from the sad diet, you know, kind of your traditional kind of crap processed food diet. But, you know, had I come from lots and lots of vegetables and stuff, yeah, I think you could get a lot of nausea. I did get some keto flu, but that passed pretty quickly. I didn't really have the diarrhea, you know. I had a little bit of constipation actually, which I just added fat, like Dr. Chafee said, use butter or fat, you know, to up or down to cure that. And that, you know, but once I got through that, I had some headaches, really bad headaches. I don't know if you guys had headaches from the transition, but yeah, I mean, I guess you could get a headache so bad you could feel nauseous, you know, like almost a migraine. Because I used to suffer from migraines, which are completely gone with, you know, this way of eating. And so, yeah, I can see that. So for some people, maybe do the transition, not maybe right away, just plants to, you know, 100% meat. Maybe, you know, cut out bread, then cut out sugar, then cut out, you know, start cutting things out slowly. That would be my advice.
Yeah. I got a friend of mine that was vegetarian and vegan for a long time, and he tried the carnivore diet straight off, but he got so sick. So I
Yeah.
told him, let's try a meat-based keto diet. And that did the trick
Yeah.
because he had the beef, he had, other meats, but he also had the broccoli and the tomatoes and what else did several vegetables I know, plus the fermented vegetables like sauerkraut. I taught him
Yeah.
how to make sauerkraut,
Yeah.
and boy oh boy, you ought to see the difference. He went from looking like somebody going to Auschwitz to somebody who's really like healthy, and it's unbelievable, and
Mm.
it's kind of hard for me to convince anyone because I pretty much look the same my whole life. But you start seeing some of these people and they make a change, and all of a sudden they look totally different. In fact, he looks 10 years younger now. I mean, he was starting to have all these problems, and It just went away. The only bad thing is that his girlfriend is mad because now he's turned into a tiger and she doesn't want any of it. And plus, she's a vegan, so that doesn't go over too well. But hey, at least his health is better, and maybe one day she'll turn around and join the meat eating club.
Well, I know some lionesses, so maybe if she would convert.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
The poem from the other night. Oh my God.
I just don't understand why anybody would want to be vegan. It just seems like a terrible way to torture yourself, eat a bunch of nasty garbage. You're basically eating mulch. I mean, I don't see the point of it. I use my lawnmower to mulch and I let the bugs and the other animals eat it for me, but I'm not going to eat that stuff. Why would you eat a bunch of green crap that you can't even digest? It doesn't make sense.
I think people think they can digest it though, Rick. I mean, they believe that they can digest it, but just because they believe it don't make it true.
Well, that's
They
true.
they cannot digest that stuff.
I mean, the thing is, how long does it take?
100 times a day.
It takes at least a week to break down this stuff into mulch. Even under ideal conditions, it can take weeks to do it. How do they think that eating this stuff is going to go through their system and they're going to get something out of it? You try to make compost out of it, try to make compost in a container and see how long it takes. I think the quickest I've got it to work was about 7 days. So you'd have to have this stuff sitting in your system for 7 days. Then the other problem is once it's in the colon, how's it going to get back through the digestive system to absorb the fats and the other things that are in it? It just doesn't work that way. We're not a cow. We don't have multi-chambered stomachs and we can chew this stuff up. And besides, most of this plant material, it breaks down under alkaline conditions, not acid conditions. And our stomach is acid. And I've tried to reason with the vegans, but they look at me like I'm crazy. So you don't know anything. You're not a doctor. You're not anything. I said, yeah, but I got some information you can look at. It's pretty basic. It's just chemistry. And when you think about it, yeah, it's biology, but it works off of chemistry. But they just won't listen. It's like I gave up. I tried many times to use reason, but then they come out with the murderer and the Holocaust and all this other stuff. And it gets to be a problem. I mean, I even showed them in my garden. In fact, I just had to pick some big fat tomato hornworms out of my garden. I made a video on it, and I give them tomatoes and I give them vegetables. And I said, look, how do you think that you get the vegetables without being full of holes and being destroyed? I pick the bugs off and I give them to the ducks. So there has to be a predator. And this is the thing. If you're going to have life, you have to have a way of controlling the amount that there is. If you have animals that are grazing and you have no predators, they will graze themselves hungry and they will all die. So you have a choice if you're an animal. You can live in the wild. You can be ripped apart alive by something like a lion, tiger, or other predator. Or you could live on a farm and you could be fed for a while. And then one day you go off into behind the barn or something and then it's lights out. So you have that choice. I mean, really, think about it. You have a choice. It's going to happen one way or the other.
Yeah, that's right. But veganism, it's completely ignorance, and unfortunately, like they say, they always say, "Oh, but you're not a doctor," and all this. Doctors don't know either; they're completely ignorant as well. But unfortunately, we've been indoctrinated to believe that doctors know everything and are honest people that are beyond reproach. So that's
the other thing is most of the vegans have pets. And what happens when their pet gets too old and too sick? What do they do with it? They have it, as they call it, put to sleep. Now, what is that? You take them to the vet, they inject them with some toxins, and they die. They could do the same thing at their own house. They could take it outside and put a bullet in it or something or cut its throat, but they're not going to do that because they have this strange way of looking at the world that everything has to be a certain way. And I've seen people spend thousands of dollars just to keep their pet alive for a few more months. But eventually it's going to die anyway. And most of the time it ends up in the vet being killed. So I'm thinking, if you're going to raise animals for livestock, they're not pets. You may like them, but that eventually they're going to get old and they have to be, so what's wrong with cooking them up? They've already been able to breed. They have the next generation out there and you put them out to pasture for a while. And then, it's like Anthony Chafee says, the old cattle sometimes taste really good. So it's the same thing with any animal. I just don't understand where the veganism idea comes from. And I even tell them, I said, look, all life comes from life. Yeah, well, that's the money, of course. But it's, if you think about it, all life comes from life. So the thing is, you can come from plant life, animal life, whatever. And then the universe is controlled by the laws of thermodynamics. They always quote calories in, calories out, but that's not true because we're not burning the food. That's why I said, look, if that was the case, drink some diesel. There's as much calories in a quart of diesel as there is in a steak. So, and actually, there's more. So, you could just drink the diesel and get the calories because they think they can eat all that veggie crap and they get the same protein or whatever. I said, yeah, the protein may be in there, but we can't use it. It's just like nitrogen. All plants need nitrogen. They can't use it. N2 is too tightly bonded together. You can't break it apart. It has to be in a nitrate. And nitrates are produced by bacteria, or you can produce them chemically. But again, the vegans, it's like this, cover their eyes, plug their ears. They don't, it's just the same old thing. And no matter how much science you try to put their way, all they ever do is just deny it. So what are you going to do? I mean, you try your best, you watch them suffer. What's the point sometimes?
Yeah, that's right. It's a good question. Why isn't it taught in schools? Problem is teachers don't know anything about nutrition. That's not their job for a start. But they don't want us to know.
Christy does. And John does, who's not here. He's on a cruise, but go ahead. Sorry.
They don't want us to know, Rick says, where's the idea for veganism come from? Like, that's how kings and states have always fed or kept slaves, because they keep them underfed and malnourished. There's a big difference. There's when the agricultural revolution happened, you could see the difference in humanity between the size, the average height of people, the size and strength of their bones and muscular tissue that has kept us, the biggest difference when you meet a lot of these dignitaries that, have always been raised on a meat diet, like an animal-based diet. Most of them are quite tall people compared to the average height of, the population, general population, and there's a reason for it.
Mm-hmm. There's a really great book by Lierre Keith. It's called The Vegetarian Myth, I believe. And I know she was interviewed by Dr. Chafee, maybe also Dr. Berry. I think Carrie just also interviewed her. But if you know anybody who is a vegan or vegetarian or anyone who's thinking about that, have them read that book, because she was a lifelong vegetarian, vegan, and raw vegan, I think. It's a cult. I mean, you can get completely brainwashed into this. But she was so sick for so many years.
Kids are raised. You watch cartoons, you watch like Disney, and it's like all these animals are our friends, and all these, all this sort of stuff. So we don't eat our friends, do we? And then, of course, you get all this other propaganda that tells you, eating is bad for us and it's evil, and it makes you sick. Meat's bad, and all this sort of garbage. It starts from very early childhood. Like all your toys and things are all animal shaped and things like that as well. You don't give a toddler like a little BB gun and say, okay, start shooting your toys. Like that's dinner tonight. It's just the way it is. Like it all starts very early, and they grow up with it. Even schools, most teachers nowadays are activists. Like a bunch of veg head activists that you don't know jack about life themselves, but they're teaching the next generation, because they're teaching them ideals that they want them to have. They're not teaching them things that they should be using or could use to. Yeah.
So
which is
as
why,
but
yes, I was wanted you to chime in on this, Christy. Go ahead.
Okay. So absolutely. So I can speak to specifically what I see in my school district, in my school. And if you don't know, I'm a teacher. This is my 25th year teaching here in Southern California. So every state has a specific set of standards that every teacher is required to teach. And other states, might have nutrition standards. I don't know. But in elementary school, and I teach 5th grade, like I said, there are no nutrition standards. So that is not part of what I'm required to teach them. However, twice a day, they do receive a free meal, courtesy of the state of California. So our school district, whether they like it or not, or know any better or whatever, is required to base those meals on the My Plate guidelines. So, and that's true of any school district here in California. So if you go to those websites, they all have like a nutrition tab, which I just laugh at, because when you click on it, it's not nutrition at all. But it shows the federally mandated My State guidelines, and it says all the meals follow this. Like, they're not allowed to waver from that, differ from that. They have to stick to that. And as many of us probably already know, the big food companies have kind of wormed their way in there. And so you will legitimately see Kellogg's Pop-Tarts being fed for breakfast. You will see Lucky Charms being fed to these kids for breakfast. Even when they serve them milk, it is either fat-free chocolate milk, which just has extra sugar, or it's 1%, white milk. The only thing I have ever seen come out of the cafeteria in my school that would be considered maybe food is a cheese stick. Or like when they serve hamburger patties, the burger patty, which is very small. It's for sure, it can't be more than 3 ounces. It's little. And then there's a bunch of bread and, other stuff around there. And then in the front of where the kids walk in, they have this like sandwich board. And on it, they have written the food groups, again, based on the My Plate guideline. There was one particular day, I don't always go in there, but it sticks in my mind. So, that fruits, vegetables, whatever, all the things. And of course, protein's at the bottom where nobody's going to see it. But the protein for that day was legitimately, they said that the cheesy pull-aparts were the protein for that day. And if you don't know what cheesy pull-aparts are, it's like breadsticks with some cheese on it that they can like pull apart into bite-sized pieces. That was the protein. Like, that's not even protein. But when the kids go in there, these kids who are given no nutrition, education, they go in there and they're like, oh, this is what I'm getting. And my cheesy pull-aparts are my protein, And so I can only do so much. But my kids all know that I only eat meat. My students I'm talking about, obviously my own kids know that too. But yeah, my students know that I only eat meat. If they ask me why I talk a lot about protein, if I'm out there during breakfast, I'm like, oh, let's see what sugar they're feeding you today. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, flip it over. Let's read the ingredients. And so, they're eating it still, but like we're flipping it over. Oh, look, the first ingredient is wheat. Guess what? Sugar. The second ingredient is legitimately sugar. Then later on, there's probably some high fructose corn syrup, and there's about 5 other names for sugar. And I teach them all of those. And so that's what I can do. But, am I having any effect? Probably not. And then if you see what their parents are sending with most of them, their parents are sending like big bags of chips. And that's what they'll bring out at lunchtime, like a giant bag, like a family-sized bag of chips. And that's what they have. So I don't think they're getting it at home, at least not at my school. But there's no.
I was just going to say that, like corporations, they pretty much sponsor any sort of nutritional guidelines. And in schools, they're actually, taxpayer subsidized. You actually see like in schools, you got vending machines, Coca-Cola and all these other different soda drinks and processed packaged foods and things like that. That's the standard, like in schools now, hospitals, any public sort of places, they're just absolutely evil, honestly. Well, even like in hospitals, like in oncology hospitals, things like that, there's vending machines. They literally bring this stuff around to you while you're getting treated. The restaurants downstairs are all the same. It's nothing but junk food.
And you ask any teacher about the behavioral issues and the ADD and the depression and anxiety of these kids, then the behavior, it's got to be with eating sugar and all this stuff. Yeah, it's got to be, all that pasta and all that bread, and it just all turns to sugar. It's got to cause a lot of behavioral and learning disabilities as well.
And because it's so like it's ultra addictive, you try taking that away from them.
That's scary. Coming up on Halloween here.
Yep.
Well, I want to jump in here because it's past the hour, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time if you need to go. But I kind of thought maybe we just, for whoever wants to stay, we can just go around quick and give final thoughts. I know we talked about a lot of topics. I can hang out for a little bit if we want to chat a little longer, but I want to let anybody scoot that needs to, or give final thoughts. So we'll start.
Okay, yes, I do need to scoop, but I just want to say this has been a really good discussion. You know, the fall season is upon us. The cooler weather's coming. You know, get your sweaters out. Switch those summer clothes out if that's what you do. Like I know, Rick, you probably don't need to switch your summer clothes out. You and Papa Carnivore, you're gonna be hot, and then DC is gonna be over there in Queensland, where it's also like Florida. So I live in Michigan, so we get all the seasons, and it's time for tailgate parties, and you know, so I'm just thinking about, you know, getting my soup pot ready, getting my pressure cooker going, and getting ready for the holidays, and preparing. I'm gonna be the meat person, so I like to bring the meat. Sorry, you guys, you're gonna have to make your own dressing. They all know how to make dressing now, so they can make it. And it's just like mine used to be. So until they go carnivore, they can make their own poison. Sorry. Yeah, so it's been good. And then, you know, on the topic of vegetarians, I have some family members that were vegetarian for years and years and years, vegan and vegetarian, and turned out that they ended up with adrenal failure. And they had to go back to eating meat because they just did not get enough protein, and the adrenals were shutting down. So I'm quite concerned. I have a grandson who does not eat meat. I don't know why, because he loves meat. So he's only 17. He's about to turn 18 years old. And I'm like, you guys pray for him because he needs to really get back on eating meat because, you know, for his brain, for his, you know, for his body, muscles, his, you know, he's very, very thin. And I'm like, this is not good. This is not good. So I'm concerned about that. But people need protein. People need to eat meat. That's what human beings are designed to eat. So you know, we need to be eating meat, and so I feel sorry for vegetarians. Vegans are eating these processed, you know, meat, fake meat. Like, if you're going to eat fake meat, why not just eat the real thing? You're going to eat a fake burger. It's just full of chemicals. Like, okay, I could go on and on about this, but you know, I'm just going to stick with the meat. And so I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for having me, Nia.
Of course. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. I feel like this was a really good chat. I meant to say this earlier, but I'm going to put a link to a video that I watched by Lily Kane. And she was talking about this concept. I'd never heard about it, but she saw it on the news called Ogtober. And it's kind of like what you were talking, I think Nia was talking about, like you go in the grocery store and it's all Halloween in like August. And I mean, it was I don't watch a lot of Lily Kane videos for whatever reason, but this one was like, I mean, I watched it all the way through, and it really even explores this concept further of Ogtober and what are we setting ourselves up for here? That means August, then you're already doing it. So September, then Halloween, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then New Year. That's half the year. That's 6 months, you know, doing this. And why are we doing this? Oh, because probably the candy companies need to make some money, I guess. But so that video I think was really fantastic. And also some of you who were watching earlier might have heard them mention the Lioness and the Lioness lifestyle. We just had our 1-year anniversary show, and we talked about this topic a little bit last night. So head on over to the Lioness Lifestyle Live channel and subscribe and check out our 1-year anniversary episode because it was fantastic. I personally am looking forward to fall. I'm, like I said, excited for that weather to get cooler. My school is having a fall festival, and I think that's a really good way for kids to come and maybe not do because it's not really focused around candy. It's like game booths and things like that. So These are like alternate ways, and I'm going to kind of push that with my students and hope they all come to that. And I don't think I'll talk them out of trick-or-treating, but maybe I will, who knows? So yeah, thanks you guys.
Thanks.
So I heard there was a comment I saw, and at the end of the comment, this guy said, and I said, I'm going to steal this from you. I think it was a live stream. He said, meat heals, carbs kill. And that's kind of true. Meat heals, carbs kill. I mean, so the more you can stick to the meat, I mean, that's where I'm getting all my healing. I really hope that everyone watching this will share this with their friends, anyone they know who could use help, you know, who's sick, who's not feeling well, who has anything, whether it's weight, anxiety, depression, IBS, high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever. But I hope they'll share this and that more people will start watching this show, because I think there's a lot of valuable information that comes out of these discussions. I mean, I'm learning a lot from you guys. So I can only imagine somebody who, you know, isn't, you know, doing what we're doing for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you know, in DC's case, what is it, 5 years? So there's people with cancer, right, DC, who have no idea how this can be a life change, you know, can prolong their life, can save their life. So I just hope that more people will tune in.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in my case, I always tried to get people to join in my diet, but it's been very frustrating because obviously very few ever do. Even my own parents wouldn't listen to me, and no matter how sick people get, it seems like they just don't see it. And it's kind of hard when you've been a friend of mine for 20, 30, 40 years. You know exactly what I've done. You know how I started out. You know that over the years I haven't changed much. Even people tell me, well, Rick, you hardly change at all. I can only imagine in your 40-year high school reunion, you'll be the only one that looks like your yearbook, because everyone else has changed so drastically. And you could see it. You know, after 10 years, it wasn't that much. It seems like after the 30 years, that's when people really started to change. So what I've tried to do, not only with the diet, but also with the lifestyle, trying to be non-materialistic and trying to do other things, you know, like some people, they play around with light. And I see that Nia was talking about grounding. I was trying to make a video on that, and that's why I had this oscilloscope over here, which, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, but I have a few of them. And what I was going to do is use this to show how grounding actually works beyond what you could measure with a voltmeter, because you can measure voltage with a voltmeter, but using an oscilloscope, you can actually see the variations in voltage that you pick up, the AC that comes from the air or the DC static that you generate and so on. So it's just one of those things. My problem is that my computer hardware is extremely old, and I'm always working, so I just don't have a whole lot of time to make any quality videos. But I do make short videos, and once in a while I'll put a video when I have a day off. But again, this is a YouTube channel. I don't get paid for it. And my 17 years on YouTube, I have yet to meet anyone in person that I've contacted on YouTube. So that's why I don't really spend a lot of time on it. But I do like to come out and join these lives, and I try to get on videos whenever I can. I'm just trying to show you that you can do this. You can live the carnivore lifestyle, and you're not going to get a heart attack, even though I call it the heart attack diet. And whenever you think of heart attacks, iguanas, and the carnivore diet, you know who it is. I mean, there's only one person in the carnivore space, and that's me. And I'm the oddball. I'm sort of like the comedy relief, as well as, I don't know, it's like a combination of things. But you'll notice a lot of times you'll see people, they come out there, they make YouTube videos, they get really into it, and then they kind of disappear. And I've seen several people, you know, I know when Carrie Mann encouraged everyone to make YouTube videos, they were all over the place. And then what happened? Well, they started falling away. And I guess maybe the duck food tempts them. I don't know. But it seems like they fall back into the standard diet. Then their lifestyle, maybe they're stressed. I don't know what it is, family problems, health issues, whatever. But then they get away from it. But I've had people tell me, you can't eat the carnivore diet long term. It will kill you. I said, look, being alive is going to kill you. Nobody gets out of this alive. You know,
True.
Your next step is in God's hands. It's not in your hands. So the main thing is, isn't it better to find something that makes you feel good? If you like eating plants and they treat you well, go for it. I grow vegetables and fruits. I give them away to my friends. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel like I'm killing them because I give them avocados and mangoes and bananas and tomatoes. I'm not killing them with that. Now if I was making processed crap like Pop Tarts, yeah, I wouldn't give it to them. When I find that kind of stuff in a clean out, I give it to the ducks or I throw it out. But I still believe that you don't have to be carnivore to be healthy. But for some of us, it's the best way. So you got to try different diets. And I encourage people, if you want to try the plant-based diet, try it. But if you don't feel well, try something else. And just keep mixing it up until you find something that works for you. And once you find a diet that works for you, you got to think about your lifestyle. Where do you live? Are you stuck in some high-rise building in a high-stress job? Or are you living in a rural area? What is the lifestyle you want? So if you can move to another place and eat well, that's a great combination. And who do you surround yourself with? Do you surround yourself with people that are trying to tear you down, or people that are always criticizing you, making fun of the little things that you do or whatever? They're trying to get you in with them, get you to drink and smoke and eat duck food or whatever else they do. Are those the kind of people you want to be with? Or are you going to be with the people that say, you know what? Do what works for you. I'm not going to pressure you. I'm your friend. I'm gonna give you the advice that I know, and if you want to do something else, go ahead. But don't try to convince me that what I'm doing is wrong without evidence. Now, if you have evidence, bring it on. I'm willing to do that. But the problem is, a lot of the people out there that are eat vegan and even the standard diet, they will not listen to the evidence, because as soon as you start getting too deep, they shut down. And then it's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Or they'll listen to you, and then the next time you see them, they're over there at, Krispy Kreme donuts or Starbucks or whatever. I cannot understand why anybody would want to go to Starbucks. That doesn't even look like an appealing place. Every time I've been by there, the smell is not good. It's just a bunch of goofy coffees. I mean, again, if you can drink coffee and it's okay for you, that's fine. But just make your own, grind your own seeds or whatever. But as David says, coffee can be really bad. So you have to think, hey, maybe I shouldn't drink this stuff. It's like anything else. So got to have that open mind. You can't be closed-minded. And that's why people accuse me of being closed-minded, that I want everybody to eat meat. And I said, no, that's not the case. If you've ever watched my interviews and videos, you know that I don't tell people they need to go on the carnivore diet. I say this is a tool in the toolbox. You may have one tool to do one job. You may have a socket set. You may have wrenches. You may have a vice grip. You use the socket, or maybe you need to disconnect like a fuel line or something. You use a line wrench. You could use a regular wrench, but you may round it out. So you got to have all these tools in the toolbox. And that includes plants for some people. Some people benefit. It's like fermentation. So really, my advice to everyone has been, you keep the open mind and listen. Don't shut down. So that's why I'm out there. I just want to let people know my experience, and it's up to them to make the decision. It's their free will. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. Nothing I say can be construed as professional advice. It's just an example. That's it.
Yeah, exactly right, Rick. There's a lot of things you can unpack in that, but fermentation. When you're talking about fermentation with fermented plants, things like sauerkraut is a tool that I used for many years for IBS and for reflux, and it's also very good for nausea. So going back to that question, like that transitional question before, if sauerkraut can be a very good tool for nausea. Okay, it also gets rid of it. It helps stop things like reflux, IBS, and also esophageal mucus and that sort of stuff. So when you are transitioning, that could be something that would help. And the reason why these plants, when they're fermented, they're good for you. They can be good for you like that because it's already broken down, and it's also a part that it's fermented in salt. If it's fermented in salt only, then the sauerkraut is great. Otherwise, it just gets stuck in your colon. The problem with fiber, it's the only food that people eat that expands when you eat it. Okay, when it's in your stomach, when it gets wet, it actually expands, and that's where a lot of the inflammation is caused. So when it gets into your digestive tract and all that sort of stuff, it pushes. It actually swells your digestive tract and everything like that. So, and it doesn't break down either. So it reaches your colon and it rots there. So that causes a lot of other problems, like hormone production. It stops the absorption of, even if you eat this stuff with meat and other things, it will stop you from absorbing all the proteins and vitamins and minerals and that sort of stuff. But it also causes erectile dysfunction. It lowers your cholesterol, it lowers your testosterone levels. It does all kinds of damage. So that's why, fermented first is good. So it's and cooking them doesn't make any difference either. So, but that could help with nausea anyway. As I wanted to say, sauerkraut is very good. Other things that can help too is like apple cider vinegar. Have a little bit of that in water. It can also help with nausea. But yeah, like Rick says, like you're all grown-ass adults. Like you eat what you like, and if it works for you, stick with it. But if it doesn't, then have the open mind to at least acknowledge that it's not working for you, and be prepared to make the changes that you need to make. And I think that's the biggest problem with people, is that they don't keep an open mind. They get very much set in their ways. And a lot of it is habits. It all comes down to habits. And you need to replace the bad habits with healthy habits. When you are presented with information that could help you, that could save your life, or it could at least prolong your life, okay, and give you a better life, make you a healthier life, then at least have the open mind to take that knowledge on and do something about it. It makes a very big difference. Anyway,
Agreed. I feel like we should make this 2 hours, especially if we have 6 or more of us, because it's so good. So I know, like, if anybody has to drop off, go for it. But I did want to give a couple thoughts here, and then just address this last question that came into from a kid's perspective, because I have a 4-year-old as well. So I mean, I agree with everything. I think the habit is the biggest challenge. So we're getting these cues from our environment, right? The colder weather, the less daylight, the sweater weather, all these things, depending on where you live. And so it's about understanding, like being prepared to recognize those cues or triggers or whatever word you want to use for them when they come in, and then being prepared to have, a new habit, a new behavior to put in place. And so, that takes some inner work, some recognizing thought patterns, dealing with maybe emotions that are still tied to food or situations that we're in, family things, whatever it might be, right, that make us want to participate emotionally in something. And then distinguishing those things so that you can kind of pick them apart and deal with those and find a solution that fits what your ultimate goal is, which is to, beat your health condition or stay healthy or not regress back into addiction or whatever it might be. And so I think that can potentially always be a challenge, but it does definitely get easier with time. And so I just wanted to sort of shout out everybody's channel, and I've been forgetting to tag everybody in these descriptions. So I'm going to make sure to do that again after we sign off tonight. So because community and support is really so crucial. And I think, like, everybody that's been speaking tonight, all the people that come on this show regularly are all great resources. And so find somebody who you resonate with and, consume that content. That's going to help you prepare to deal with, whatever struggles you might be coming up against in the season change. So as far as kids go, things like trick-or-treating, having special treats this time of year, I kind of feel like, I have a 4-year-old little girl, and I want her to be able to participate in things, but I don't want her ingesting tons of junk and poison either, and I don't want to teach her that association between candy and food and having fun, right? And so I feel like the way I see it, there's a balance. Like, I want there to be plenty of activities that we do this fall and around Halloween that aren't trick-or-treating, that don't consist of, hey, we're going here just to eat this or to eat that. We're going to go here to be a family. We're going to go here to see some animals. We're going to go here to wear our costumes and run around like fairy witches or whatever we're going to be and just have fun, face paint, carve pumpkins, So having plenty of things that are non-food associated, I think is a good strategy. When it comes to trick-or-treating, like last year, I let my kid go. We walked around our neighborhood, and at the end, I just went through her bucket. Like, actually, a lot of places were giving out non-candy items, which I kind of thought was cool. Like, I'd say a good 25-30% of the places we stopped were businesses, but they were giving out, stickers or, pencils or little gimmicky toys or whatever. So I was kind of impressed by that. But I just went through and I picked out like 5 or 6 pieces of the least offensive candy that she got. Like if it was a plain chocolate bar or something that was, not completely saturated in artificial colors and crammed with sugar and all this stuff. And there were about 4 or 5 pieces of basically plain chocolate that were in there. And I let her have those. And then I just threw the rest away and let her keep all the little toys and things like that. So it's like, she can engage partially with that and have fun. And she's healthy and she's metabolically healthy. She's super smart, and I'm not concerned with her health at this point. So a few pieces of chocolate a few times a year is not going to, do any damage in my opinion. But we don't make it a habit. We don't bring it into the house, and we don't make that a regular part of how we associate having fun and being social and doing things as a family. So that's kind of my take on kids. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment.
I had
on
a couple of ideas for Hooligan Fish. I did type one in and I think they saw it, but I'm not sure. So if your kids, are older, my kids are too much older, right? They're too old to trick or treat. But if they've been trick or treating before and they want to participate in the fun of trick or treating, you could have them trick or treat, but then they trade in their candy to you for something else that they like. That's either a non-food item or a toy or money or whatever. So they can still dress up, do the whole thing, and then just trade it in for something that isn't candy. And then the other idea that came to me actually from what Nia was saying, I was like, oh yeah, there's this whole movement. It's not about that candy's unhealthy. It's really about because there's so many kids with food allergies. But there are some neighborhoods and areas that do this thing called the teal pumpkin. And if you see a teal pumpkin, it means they give away non-food items. That's a California thing. I don't know if it's in every state, but there's a lot. And there's like certain neighborhoods that'll be all teal pumpkins. And that if you go to that house, the idea is it's safe for kids with allergies to trick or treat at that house, but it applies here too, because you can go there and they're giving out non-food items. So those are a couple thoughts I had.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think trade it in for some money or something else that the kids might like. I think that's a really good idea. I don't have kids, so I really, but I think they can still participate in the fun, like the social sort of side of things. But like you said, before when you bring them home, just try and either explain to them, because kids are not stupid. Just explain to them why this stuff is not good for them. And I think if you can get them to understand that it's not in their best interest, then that will also help as well. I don't think it's such a big deal to spend 5 minutes to explain to them why you don't want them eating this stuff, and then you could trade it in for maybe some money, or they can give it to their friends because they don't care if they get sick or not. But whatever. Yeah, give it to the ducks. Yeah. Fatten the ducks up. If you give them Halloween candy, you'll have fat ducks for Thanksgiving.
And people used to give candy to the cows, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, cows will eat it. Cows love sweet food too.
Oh, they loved it.
They just asked the vegan.
Yeah, maybe we should Well, I was assuming this meant like at Halloween time. Maybe I was like, maybe we should bring this back. Just throw eggs at each other instead of collecting candy. That would be insanity. Well, this was really good. I think we got a lot of good comments, a lot of good questions, great topics. Hopefully everybody feels empowered and strong and, good in their resolve moving forward. And it's early in the season, but so I'm sure we'll be talking, as we get closer to the holidays and all that kind of stuff, just checking in and staying strong. So we'll stick together and we'll do this together. And I thank everybody on the panel for joining me tonight. You guys are awesome. Check out the links in the description to follow everybody. And thanks to everybody in the chat, any watching the replay. Your viewership and participation means a lot to all of us. So we will see you in 2 weeks for another Carnivore Mastermind topic. Take care, everybody, and keep eating that meat.
See everyone.
Bye.
Hey.